A gentle descent into the past. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a city, not of shining towers or fairy tale castles, but of damp cobblestones, flickering torchlight, and air thick with smoke, rot, and 1,000 forgotten lives. Tonight, we'll wander the crooked streets of a medieval European town. Not the heroic kind, but the lived-in kind, the kind where survival was a full-time job, and beauty came quietly, like sunlight breaking through soot-stained windows. In this episode of Boring History for Sleep, we won't gallop through battles or recite grand dates. Instead, we'll drift gently through the quiet discomforts and quiet wonders of daily life in the past. You'll feel the weight of a wool tunic that never dries. You'll smell bread too sour to enjoy and hear boots splashing through alleyway slush. You'll listen to the silence of plague-shuttered doors. You'll walk beneath chapels filled with bones and past nobles so perfumed that their halls smelled more like death than roses. This isn't history for excitement. This is history for breathing, for resting, for sleeping. So settle in. Let your mind relax into the rhythm of cobblestone footsteps, flickering lanterns, and long-forgotten routines. Let's begin with why you wouldn't last a day in a medieval city. Why you wouldn't last a day in a medieval city. The filth, the food, the noise, and the daily discomforts of the ordinary townsfolk. Imagine. You wake up, not in a bed, not really. Just a straw mattress on the floor. The straw is damp, there's a faint sour smell, the scent of wood smoke, sweat, and yesterday's breath hangs in the air. You rise, your back aches, always. The wooden floor beneath your feet is cold and uneven. Outside, someone is already shouting. It's not angry, it's just morning. You're in a medieval city. And every sense is immediately overwhelmed. Let's begin with the ground, because it's where everything ends up. There's no sewer system here, not really. You relieve yourself in a bucket or chamber pot, and then, like everyone else, you toss it out the window, maybe with a shout of warning. Gardez-l'eau! Maybe not. The streets are narrow and packed with mud, but it's not just mud. It's the slurry of waste, rot, rain, animal dung, and crushed straw. And it's sticky. Boots get lost in it. Wheels sink. Children play in it anyway. Now imagine the smell. In the morning, it's sharper, stirred up from yesterday. By midday, it warms. By evening, it settles into a thick, almost sweet rot that clings to your clothes and nestles into your nose. There's no escaping it. And then there's the noise. Street sellers crying out their wares, fish, bread, cloth. Blacksmiths hammering at iron from before dawn. Church bells tolling the hours, the prayers, the deaths. Dogs barking, children screaming, people arguing in 10 different dialects. The city is loud always, like it's exhaling all at once. You step out, maybe you're hungry. You head to a bakery, not for a fresh loaf, but for yesterday's hard bread. Maybe it's still edible, maybe not. There's no such thing as variety, just what's available. Wheat bread for the wealthy, barley, oats, and rye for the rest. Your teeth hurt from how hard the crust is. No one has perfect teeth anymore. Most people lose theirs before middle age. You pass a house, it's leaning slightly. Every floor juts out over the one below it, creating a tunnel of shadows even at midday. There's little air, no privacy, no proper windows, just shutters. If there's glass, it's cloudy, bubbled, almost useless. Inside, there's no chimney, just a hole in the roof. The fire burns in the middle of the room, smoke curling up, then curling back down again, as it has nowhere to go. You cough. Everyone coughs. And then there's the water. You boil it, if you can. Otherwise, you take your chances. Some people drink weak beer instead. Even children. It's safer, in a way. You might wonder, how did anyone live like this? But they did. and they endured. They found joy in shared bread. They smiled when rain washed the filth away for a while. They prayed when bells rang, not just out of fear, but out of hope that tomorrow might be gentler. But for you, dropped suddenly into this world, without preparation, without immunity, without the calloused feet or dulled nose that comes from a lifetime of coping, you wouldn't last a day. The Black Death. The final days of a dying city, imagine. A morning that is too quiet. No shouting bakers, no children scrambling in the alleyways. Even the birds seem to have gone silent. You wake up, but something feels different. The air is heavier, not just the usual city scents, the waste, the smoke, the damp, but something else. The metallic tang of fever, the faint trace of scorched linen. Death has entered the city walls. This is a medieval town in lockdown. The plague has arrived. Doors are shut tightly. Windows sealed with cloth or boarded wood. Along the streets, signs painted in black, sometimes crosses, sometimes crude markings, declare what everyone already knows. Behind that door, someone no longer breathes. Churches become makeshift hospitals, but there aren't enough beds. And even if there were, there are never enough remedies. Plague doctors wander the alleys wearing long-beaked masks stuffed with herbs and dried flowers. They believe the sweet smell might ward off death. But it doesn't. The plague seeps through air, through skin, through rats, through whispered prayers sent too late. There aren't enough coffins. Mass graves are dug beyond the city walls. Each night, the creaking of wooden carts echoes through the dark, carrying the still forms beneath thin sheets. And you? You don't know if you're healthy or if that small cough is the beginning of the end. The city slows, it grows quiet, as if the collective breath of its people is being held in fear. No work, no markets, no sermons, only prayers, and the scent of incense mingled with death. Evening comes sooner than it used to. You sit behind the door, listening for the wheels of the cart in the distance, and hoping, desperately, that they do not stop in front of your home. Such were the final days of a dying city. The bone labyrinth and the monks' secret letters, catacombs, cryptic codes, and the church's forgotten practices. Picture yourself descending underground. Your footsteps echo through a narrow corridor carved centuries ago. The walls are cold and damp, lined not with bricks, but with human bones, skulls stacked neatly, femurs and ribs arranged into deliberate geometric patterns. This isn't art, it's necessity. You're inside the catacombs, underground burial vaults holding thousands, sometimes millions, of remains. In many European cities, like Paris or Rome, the graveyards above became too full, so they turned downward. This place isn't just about death. It became a place of meditation, contemplation, even secrecy. By the flickering light of a candle, monks would gather in hidden chambers to pray, to write, to create manuscripts never meant for public eyes, letters filled with symbols, icons, and codes. Some concealed controversial theology, others, knowledge not meant to be shared. Imagine the quiet brush of ink across old parchment. Each letter written with care, each word a risk, one that could bring inquiry, or worse. The monks themselves lived in chosen silence, their days marked not by hours or clocks, but by chants and soft, deliberate footsteps. Day after day, behind stone walls, writing, copying, reading, keeping a rhythm that barely changed through the centuries. Yet amid the sacred verses, sometimes they hid darker truths, accounts of visions, of dreams, even confessions, ones too terrible to ever be spoken aloud. The catacombs hold more than bones. They hold stories of fear, of faith, and of human beings trying to make sense of eternity in the heart of endless darkness. how nobles tried to smell good, the elite lifestyle and hygiene standards that weren't much better. Imagine you're not a peasant, not a labourer, but a noble. It's the medieval period. You live in a castle. You sleep beneath feathered blankets. You're waited on by servants. You dine on roasted goose and red wine. But that comfort is mostly illusion. Your castle is cold, damp, and dim. Smoke from the hearth hangs in the air. Windows? No glass, just open slits blocked by heavy drapes. The floors are covered in straw or rushes, not for style, but to soak up spilled drinks and urine. Toilet? It's called a garderobe, a hole in the wall that drops straight into a moat. The draught that rises from it, best not described, and of course there's no soap as we know it. Sometimes ash was used, or simply a damp cloth. Bathing was rare. Too much bathing was thought to weaken the body. People believed open pores invited disease through water. So, how did they stay fresh? They masked odour, not eliminated it. Nobles carried small perfume containers, called pomanders or herbal sachets. Clothing was dabbed with scented oils. They often pressed dried flowers or camphor to their noses. Aroma brought comfort and, according to miasma theory, protection from disease. And remember, those heavy, multi-layered outfits? They weren't washed often. At best, the underlayers were changed. Outer garments could go months, untouched by water. Still, they tried to maintain dignity and appearance. Hair was combed with fine-toothed combs, teeth rubbed with cloth and ash, nails kept trimmed. Hands were symbols of status. At banquets they danced, laughed and dined lavishly. But the smell in that grand hall was likely far from grand. To be a noble was not to be clean. It just smelled different. A gentle reflection for the end of the night. Now imagine yourself slowly stepping away from the medieval city. Your feet glide over cobbled stones, leaving behind the sharp odours, the market's clamour, and the flickering glow of oil lamps. Darkness deepens, but in that darkness the world grows quiet. No more crowds, no more foul air clinging to your breath. You've seen life from a rarely told angle. The lives of ordinary people, of servants, of monks, even nobles who weren't quite as pristine as we imagine. All of them existed within a world that was harsh and unforgiving, where survival was a daily accomplishment. And yet in that very harshness there lies the quiet beauty of history. The rhythm of footsteps, the distant toll of church bells, the scratchy texture of wool, the scent of burning wood at night. The past may have been dirty, noisy and exhausting, but it was also calm, ritualistic and full of meaning, if you listen with enough patience. Now you've returned to the present, to a warm bed, clean air, fresh clothes, and hopefully your mind has wandered far enough that sleep has begun to settle. Thank you for joining this historical journey. It's time to rest. Let the old world fade gently and be replaced by softer dreams. Good night.